Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits.
Wow.
What was that?
That was
a sneak attack.
Hey, I might be peeking a little bit.
Oh, you are peeking.
Would you
Hey,
take
what
did
you
you drop a
think?
bunch of acid
That's
an
some
hour
of
ago?
that-
Is that what's
Hey.
happening?
That
Is that why
funny
you're peeking?
stuff.
Hey, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits. All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
You ready?
Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits, coming to you from the Recycle Garage here in sunny Santa Cruz, California.
What?
Yeah, man.
What? Okay.
I'm so over that thing.
What?
Why don't you just make the fart noises with your mouth?
Oh, did you do?
Fart machines never go
I can make
out
them
of
with
style.
something else too.
They never.
All right, whatever.
There is never time I can do it. The gym doesn't laugh. See? Get him every time.
It's like watching Knock get kicked in the nuts. You just can't help but laugh.
It's a fun
Oh.
time if you.
Hey
into it.
everyone, this is Liza, and I was I mentioned today I was thinking of changing the name. I know we're like 400 and some episodes into this, but I was thinking of changing the name to Motorcycles and Idiots. What do you think?
No, it's
There-
motorcycles and dipshits.
What were the United Colors of something earlier today
The United Colors of Benetton.
of dysfunction?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's get to who is in the studio today. Looking all nice with a fresh haircut.
Not that fresh.
Is
Dude.
that a toupee or a haircut?
Yes, it's a
It's,
three.
it's amazing how good haircut.
Dude,
Can
he was-
just completely
I gotta
change.
say, you pimping that kind of lavender purple tie was fresh. You look good,
Yes,
son.
any man who
He
can
looked
wear
handsome.
lavender.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he rocked it.
it's knock.
Hey, how you doing, bitches?
All right, way to win the crowd over.
I do what I can.
And of
Explains
course,
the-
I wanted to call everybody a bunch of dumb hoes, but that's not very nice.
No, that's not nice, Knock.
it's not nice to the hoes that are smart.
True.
Yeah. Running the board tonight, it's Stumpy John.
What's up, everybody? Trying to walk and chew gum at the same time.
You got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, he's
Control center
running the board right now.
on
job.
the classy girl couch tonight after a long hiatus.
Was it?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
Well, it seems that way, doesn't it?
She's back. It's Miss Emma.
Hello, darling. And just before we went on air, me and Liza were singing a song, weren't we, Liza?
Yes, we were.
And ground control to Major Tom. Your circuit's
Yes, I'm
dead.
dead.
There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom?
Wow, that just went real bizarre.
That's really good for the sound guy too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh no, we enjoyed that. But
We'll
it's
fix
nice.
it in
It's
post.
it's nice to be back.
Yeah. And joining us on the Classic Girl Couch, I have to say how nice it is to have guests in person.
Proper real guests.
Yeah, we're breathing into each other's mouths and everything. It's great.
I know. Who knows the way things are going? We may be shutting the studio down again. We'll
Yeah.
see. But for now, we get to have nice guests like Carla King. Hey, Carla.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
I'm lost.
You're enjoying.
am I?
You're enjoying the shit show, aren't you?
You think you're lost? We've been doing this for like 10 years. Holy shit.
Fun group here. I'm here to say.
We have a lot of fun.
Mm.
And over this in the smartest chair in the room, next to the open window.
Yeah, the dumbest guy in the room.
Just remember, walk past all open windows. It's Naked Jim.
Hey, what's happening? And I must say, you look like you were having some fun earlier today on the mini bike,
On the little tiny
Miss
bike.
Carla. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think you're slowly getting indoctrinated into the.
I am.
It's in. Yeah,
You're a bad influence, all of you.
we are good bad influences.
You are.
Death Trap International.
And then, of course, joining us via Zoom from sunny Veneta. Is it Veneta?
Veneta.
Oregon? Veneta, Oregon. It's Bagel.
This is Major Tom, the ground control.
Veneta.
On. So, we've been having fun. Let's see. Have you guys done any fun trips lately? I know, Knock, you borrowed my car.
Yeah.
So that was probably a break for you to drive a car for a while, not a bike.
Dude, you realize how horrible people are when they drive. If you're in a giant car too, like it's really weird.
Driving blows.
Yeah, it's you know what? I was in traffic the other day and I was like, oh yeah, this was hell.
Mhm.
I was literally like less than a half a mile from my home and it took me 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, this sucks.
Oof.
Yep.
Dude, I was splitting lanes on Saturday on Highway 1,
Mhm.
and I had my cousin on the back who's a mom, and you know, I'm not used to riding on bikes, but I was following the CHP protocol. I was only going like 10 miles an hour faster.
Sure.
I was on the KLR, so you know you're not speeding.
Yeah.
I was,
That's like a bumper car. Anyway.
you know, and I was paying very close attention because I take it seriously when I have a passenger, especially a family member, especially a mother and a wife.
So it wasn't a family member, you would take it less serious?
Well, you know, if it's an idiot, you
or
know.
under the age of 12.
But I was just following protocol, and in her mind, there was a car that was just a little too close, and her reaction was to scream and to jump to the other side of the bike.
Oh, yeah. Sudden shift the weight.
And I actually screamed at her. I'm like, don't do that.
Stuntman bad.
Like, your reaction to a non-situation created a very real situation.
Yeah.
It was quite scary, but you know, it was interesting to be reminded something to me that I thought I was just doing quite easily. And many of the cars were getting out of the way, as they're trained to do here. There were two cars that, and I noticed this, when they look in their mirror, they tend to pull towards the direction they're looking. Yeah. Maybe you guys have seen this, and they kind of came encroached. I'm not going that fast, so I was able to slow down and get past them. But to her, it was a death-defying act. And to me, it was just a regular commute.
It's human physiology. Yeah.
Slightly death-defying. It is a motorcycle.
To be fair on her, see, I'm going to go back a couple of years when we were in LA, and I know I've talked about this before, so forgive me. But it was fun watching Liza lane split in dense LA rush hour traffic. 90-degree weather. She had these giant saddlebags on her bike, which are made out of aluminium, and just
panniers
gouging the side of the car. And of course, there'd be these motorists who were getting rather angry about this because they just had a brand new paint job on the Mercedes, and along comes Liza, and I show up.
Just don't look back.
And yeah, I mean, I had to deal with the fallout, basically.
That's like when you pass a dog in the woods and the dog almost gets you and there's someone behind you. You're like, oh.
That's why I like soft cases.
I still do not own up to this. She says she witnessed it, but I also say, if you're bouncing off a car, you're going to feel it. I never, ever felt that I touched any car because I'm the type of person who would pull over. I mean, you guys, John, you saw when I hit that truck and I'm like, make him stop. I want to make sure I give him my information.
That is the politically correct answer, yes.
So, yeah, I was not aware of that. But
so,
anyway.
If you were driving your Mercedes in rush hour traffic in LA about 2 years ago and you got gouged by a KTM with aluminium panniers, I'm sorry. And I'm
do more cocaine about it.
Yeah, exactly. And my suggestion is do another line and everything will be fine in the morning.
And just remember to send your complaints to Phil at clevelandmoto.com.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. I did want to share some. I know I told some of you, but I'm still kind of rattled by this incident that happened yesterday. It's just, I'm still trying to figure out what happened. And, you know, others have given perspectives, and I'm sure Knox's perspective is I'm the asshole, because that's usually what his go-to is.
Usually good default, yeah.
But I had an incident where I had my cousin on the back, and we went to a state beach to go meet someone else. And they had the entrance blocked because, as they said, they had a medical emergency happening. They had a fire engine and an ambulance parked in the entrance, so you couldn't get into the lot. And so they said, you need to, you know, get out of the road. So there was a patch of dirt next to parked cars on the edge of the entrance to the park. You know, everyone's familiar with that wedge that you have the end of parking, you know, that you can fit a bike into easily. You see them at grocery stores and everything.
Oh, like the painted off island area?
Yeah, but this one was just dirt, and instead of it being marked off, it was just brambles. But there was a no parking sign in front of it because it seems that cars would try to squeeze into this spot and be hanging out into the driveway. But I was able to pull my bike in. One of the young rangers who was there waving traffic on said, "Hey, you can't park there. It's no parking." And I just responded, "Okay, thanks. I'm just dropping someone off. I'm staying with the bike." And this guy in a car next to me, had nothing to do with anything, says, "She told you no parking." I was like, whatever. I just ignored him. my cousin went in. I stayed with the bike. I was just sitting on the bike, minding my own business. Not close to his car. I checked; it was 5 feet from my handlebars to his Jeep. No, what do you call fire?
No fire lane, right?
No, yeah, nothing. It's just brambles and dirt. And then I took my helmet off and I got off the bike and I was adjusting something on the bike, some straps on the rear bag. And then the young woman said again, if you take your helmet off, they're probably going to ticket and maybe tow you. I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here with the bike. Well, then the guy in the Jeep decided that it was, his job to jump in because he said, you're an asshole. And I just looked at him and said, I'm not sure what your issue is with me, dude. And he said, because they already told you twice, you cannot park there. They're dealing with a medical emergency and you don't give two shits about it. I'm like, dude, I am not impeding anyone, obstructing anything, near anyone, bothering anyone, talking to anyone. I'm out of the way. I got out of the roadway. The safest thing to do, And I said, I think you're the asshole. And which is unusual for me to actually really confront somebody like that.
Yeah.
But he had said something before and I felt really almost kind of attacked from from the Rangers and him. Like, I'm not leaving the bike. I'm not can there possibly be an exception to the rule here, which the rule is there for cars who, are out. And I just thought it was so weird. I just wondered if it was a bias toward motorcyclists, No,
I think you're overthinking it, Liza. I think I am going to give you, and again, we talked about this earlier, but I'm going to give you a Misfits top tip.
Yeah.
And that is, people are going through a lot right now. Just be kind to one another.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. There is this pressure cooker thing.
Yeah, and it none of it matters about which side of the political divide you're on or which side of the vaccination divide you're on, or none of that matters. We're all going through a great deal right now. And there's a lot to be very, very happy about. And there's a lot to be kind of frustrated about. And, people are a little bit more impatient than they should be. And oftentimes they're not really as kind as they should be to one another. So just be kind to each other.
That's a Emma Pearl of wisdom right there.
It's walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, I think has a lot of value here.
You know what? I will add to this, though, and this is something I bet you every single person in this room can agree to.
Here it is.
There is not adequate parking for motorcycles anywhere.
That's true.
Yes.
Yep.
Anywhere.
It's the thing, though. Like, I've had people tell me to park my bike on the sidewalk. I'm like, are you going to pay for the ticket that I get? Like, I mean, I would like to park in a nondescript area where nobody runs into it, but I'm not allowed to, bro.
Yeah, and the alternative, if I was to leave that and drive up the hill to park in the dirt on an uneven surface, and occupy an entire car space. I mean, none of the alternatives are good. I've had this in many cities that I've lived in. I don't know why there isn't more motorcycle parking.
Not enough bikes around to begin with. But I know about the dirty look that people give you when you take up a whole parking lot space.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it, but it's like,
I'll tell you why, from a public planning standpoint, the real reason there's no advocacy, right? We talk about American Motorcycle Association, all the good work they do. But they're so limited in resource size. You look at some other organizations like BPAC, Bicycle Pedestrian Coalitions, for example. Those dudes pull a heavy oar. I mean, they get millions of dollars of road improvements a year in cities in our area. But they have advocacy. And I think that's where motorcycling, why we need to support these organizations, because because it's public planning. So you got to show up at a public planning thing and say, hey, I reviewed the parking thing. There's no motorcycle parking. And if enough people advocate for it, it'll get in. But I see this and no one goes to advocate for motorcycle stuff.
And funnily enough, yesterday when I was, I think for dinner yesterday, I used my scooter as a mobility scooter for myself and my dad, who can barely walk now. He's much older. So when everyone walks to dinner, because we have so many restaurants within walking distance, he and I just ride the scooter there. And I went down onto the wharf for dinner. to meet our family, and they have motorcycle parking on the wharf. There's a few spots that we know of, and there were 3 motorcycle parking spots across from the restaurant we were going to. One Harley was taking up 2 spots, and then there was a second bike on the third spot. So I pulled into the dining they have outdoor dining now. I just pulled into the dining section and parked my scooter there for to let my dad get off, because I'm like, fuck it, you know.
But to that point, remember there used to be motorcycle parking at the very end of the wharf. So if we were going to go to the Dolphin or Stagnero seafood counter, there were 2 there. Yeah. They closed those off recently to allow for more seating.
Hey, wait, what were you going to say, Emma, about the parking and shit?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was actually going to ask Carla, who's been many countries, is this the only place that is so screwed up about motorcycle parking?
Yeah, I just remembered the first time I went to Europe, I was amazed. There's motorcycle parking everywhere. People drive with an awareness of both motorcycles and bicycles, because everybody's grandchild and grandma is on a scooter or a bicycle or even a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. So there isn't that attitude at all. And also, of course, they don't have subsidized gas prices. Mm-hmm. And so it is a real mode of transportation that they need to be able to afford to go shopping and go to school and all that. Yeah. So it's a lot different there. It's a lot safer. There aren't the sort of brand specific hostilities, between each other. Also, that's the thing about advocacy that you were saying, Jim, that I think the motorcycle industry doesn't get together. The motorcyclists don't get together because we're all sort of stuck in our own little brands or cultures. And there are these big organizations like the AMA who try to do it all, and not everybody's a member. So it's very difficult to advocate, especially in small towns. And Santa Cruz definitely should have more parking.
So here it comes, and we haven't said this for a while. This is a motorcycle podcast. It's not a political podcast. It's not a health podcast. It's not a social advocacy podcast. It's a motorcycle podcast. But as political as we're going to get is join the AMA. If you're not a member of the AMA and you ride a motorbike in America, you should be.
I think we need to petition to make parking wedges everywhere automatic motorcycle parking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every grocery store has them.
Well, the only place you lost your footing on your argument was there was a sign that said no parking. So I've gotten tickets for all sorts of trying to be sneaky about parking. Now I just take up a whole spot and I put a quarter in the meter or whatever, because your ticket's just the same if you have a bike or a car. So I don't mind doing that. But it's so sneak around in little spots. Just gets old. But the problem was there was a sign that said no parking. If you see a wedge and there's no sign, you're good to go. If there's signs, you're like,
So according to Jerry Springer, it says, "You are the asshole."
The only caveat of that, just using the wedge, and you've got to be very, very careful about this, is if there is any parking for people with a disability nearby, make sure you're not encroaching on access to that.
You should be clear of
only encroach on the left side of their van.
Yes.
That's what Liza was doing.
Well, you know who else is not wanting motorcycles around?
Who that is?
Pikes Peak.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, it's the end of an era.
Bummer.
I saw that.
Yeah. I wonder why they canceled.
It's dangerous as fuck.
I guess
but there's a lot of arguments about Isle of Man and any other racing.
Isle of Man is over there, and it's run by death cultists.
And they have motorcycle parking over there.
Yeah.
Jim, we rode up it at a stale pace.
Oh God!
On our bikes, and it was still once you're on it, you're like, holy shit.
We had a book of adventures just from the bottom to the top and back again.
There's
like a Hobbit book.
No guardrails.
You almost got taken out by a marmot.
No, they're not banning all motorcycles, are they? It's just racing.
No, just for the race, Pikes Peak race.
Yeah.
Carla, have you ridden up there?
I did. When I was 16, my family moved from North Carolina to San Jose, California, and we had this gigantic RV, this gigantic camper.
Before it was paved and halfway up the top, or what?
Yeah. And we went, because my dad is like that,
Yeah.
And so here we go. Yeah,
Family
you know where I
vacation
got
movie
my
in there
thrill
somewhere.
seeking from, and
Oh
it
my
was
God, how terrifying.
it was awesome.
Because those
Right on.
hairpin turns
Right.
are hairpin turns.
Yeah, you didn't want to
No
be
joke.
behind us.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite era of Pikes Peak racing is the very, very early 60s.
Oh, you're talking about Talbot years.
Well, the Talbot years, because the bikes were cool,
Yeah.
but the cars were great. Because you were seeing like 20-foot long Ford Galaxies
Mhm.
just flat out going up there on the dirt. And it was just wild ride. You can still find footage from it. It's an amazing spectacle.
Starts out as a road race and it turns into a rally at the top.
Right, exactly.
I do love that Talbot story. There's that picture of him and like 100 other dudes charging up in the snow, and they're wearing like leather,
Bandanas and open face
jackets.
helmet.
yeah, open face work gloves, tassels, a bunch of hippies. And but yeah, it's a great picture. But you said they got to the top, it was sub-zero. People were freezing, getting frostbite.
Mm.
Crazy.
Yeah, well,
Great stories.
Carla, when we were up there, it started hailing, and we had to ride down in a
Oh
hailstorm.
no, how was
Yeah.
that?
The
Invigorating.
down sketch.
Downhill is I get very scared about downhill because
And
that
then-
back wheel can just come out around the front so easily.
I mean, we were taking it very slow.
Yeah.
I was on a KLR. He was on his CRF 250
Mm.
rally. We were in no rush.
So what was your last
Not when
time?
it started hailing, I'll tell you that.
I know. No, not like when we were on the other mountain during the
Oh,
lightning
The
storm.
lightning, we were
that same
rushing.
day. Then we were charging out of there as lightning was hitting trees in the woods near us.
trying to
So,
get
wow.
And
small.
we were like, oh,
trying to get small.
What was your
riding blind in that rain.
Hypothermic too. I was wearing clothes that were like
God,
basically
okay.
a sponge.
Just so you know, the end of that story is we decided to leave Colorado that day.
Yeah.
Colorado whooped our
So,
ass.
Oh, yeah.
What was your Pikes Peak hill climb time?
Yeah.
45 minutes an hour.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was fun. But I mean, she just hinted at some of the great adventures. Let's get into Carla King, who's with us. Carla, thanks for
Rock
joining
star.
us.
No, it's Carla, darling, not Karma. And who is Carla King? Who is this Carla King?
Yeah, where did you come from? You just showed up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I come from a little farm in North Carolina
Okay.
where I saw a motorcycle in the garage and said, Dad, I need to get away.
Wait, were you born a bastard child?
We'll go with that. It's much more exciting.
It's like no.
No.
So, well, let's get to how you ended up here in Santa Cruz. You moved here recently.
I moved back here recently, after I left high school and worked in San Jose for about a year. I hightailed it over here. I just, I was only
Mhm.
coming here during my senior year of high school anyway.
Mhm.
I used to cut school and come here.
Oh my
too.
gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I wonder that they let me graduate actually.
Yep.
But so I've lived here many times, 3 or 4 times in 4 to 5 year stretches,
Mhm.
and I've loved it. But then, I'm a committed renter. I live somewhere a few years. I travel. I come back. I find another little cottage behind some house somewhere, which are, it's so easy
Mhm.
here. All these little in-law units, and it's So I was living in Southern California and then in Baja for a stretch, and I was like ready.
Jim wants more information.
Yeah.
You're already talking about desert things.
We
Please
were.
tell me more.
Yeah, but it's time for me to be back here. I've really been longing for the redwoods and the beach and the vibe. It's just
So,
without compare.
so you
all over
showed
the
up
world.
here a few weeks ago. What
Mhm.
you brought you to us?
Michelle Lampier
Lampier,
brought
yeah.
me to you,
Nice.
actually. Yeah.
Go visit
good
the
reference.
chalet in
Well,
Custer,
she's
South
like,
Dakota.
there are these wild people downtown. You'd never know.
Who are these people?
Nice.
Exactly. Wild and crazy people. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been really fun hanging out with you for a few times here. Gets better and better each time, I have to say.
Yeah.
But you see, right now, everyone's thinking, well, who is this Carla King? Who is this? You're an authoress. You
Yes.
are an advocate. You're a long distance motorcycle adventurer.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I'm calling her an adventuress.
I like her. You can say
Knock,
that again.
What did you have earlier? Was it a Moto Laureate?
Oh yeah, Moto Laureate.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's a
Love
good
that.
one.
Love it.
fresh.
I love that. I'm gonna run that by Ted Simon. See if he'll be the first Moto Laureate.
That's a good.
You have to have
Yeah.
a pin that's
If
like
you
a
rode
feather.
if you rode an Italian bike, you could have been a Ducati Literati.
Oh,
Not to be confused with the Italian Spider-Man.
Now you were full, dropping golden eggs left and right, son.
mhm.
But you were smart enough. You started at the beginning. So there's a very, very young Carla who discovers this motorbike in a barn and is clearly tired of dad's company.
It was just, when you're 14, you just
Yeah,
have
well.
to get away.
Yeah, no matter
Right?
how cool your parents are as a 14-year-old, they are the worst people in the world.
Mhm.
And so
Exactly.
your exit from that family was a motorbike.
Yes. Well, I always had to come back every night before dark.
Oh,
but,
bad
you
luck.
know, I know, darn it.
Bad show.
And basically, I used to have to either fix it or ride it because it was an old bike. It was a Honda 125. What did we decide?
SL?
CL?
Yeah,
SLCL?
CL or SL. I don't
Right.
really know. But it was cranky and it would kind of fall apart. And I had the choice, ride it or
not
push
ride
it.
Yeah.
And luckily, my dad had started early with me in mechanical things. He always needed an extra hand. I'm the oldest in the family of the children. And so he was always like, Carla, we got to fix the brakes on this car. Or, Carla, we got to, unstick this carburetor or whatever. I was always that extra hand. And my hands were really, of course, I was a kid. They were really small. So we always had my hands up in the engine doing, something. So I learned how to, we learned how to change a tire because he's like, not having any daughter of mine being victim to somebody on the road who's going to take advantage of her because she can't change her tire. But this empowerment that it gave me, I did not appreciate it at the time, I have to say. I wanted to be doing other things. But it didn't take me long before I was like, oh, thank you so much.
Right.
Created this confidence.
Wait, if you were in North Carolina, you would have said, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
There you go.
But you see, we've already established the motorbike connection because, as we said earlier, we are a motorbike podcast. So you've been tooling around on this little Honda 125. And
then we moved to California. He got transferred with IBM and we moved to San Jose. And he had a 250 Scrambler, Honda Scrambler there.
Okay.
That I adopted sometimes, but then it was later. I didn't motorcycle for quite a few years, and then I got married. This is on the front of my book. Is this story?
I have a question.
Yes.
What year did you move to California?
74.
Oh, okay.
I moved here from Virginia in 76.
Y'all get out.
Get out. That's right.
Wow.
Yes. Except I didn't have a parent with a motorcycle.
That is interesting. The IBM in 74, that's like cutting edge of the whole Silicon Valley.
No, there were only prune yards around.
That and aerospace stuff.
It also was a great motorcycle time.
It was because
here,
I just, point the bike in the hills there where there are all these companies and
we had
golf
raceways
courses.
and flat tracks going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Great racers came from here. What a great time here.
As a little side note, you know why Silicon Valley is in Silicon Valley? All comes out of Stanford.
Oh, yeah.
All roads lead back to Stanford because a lot of people have said, why Silicon Valley in San Jose? Everything goes back to the engineering department in Stanford.
No offense, Cal. We love you too.
Yeah, but it's the Stanford engineering department.
UC Santa Cruz?
And I think UC Santa Cruz kind of played a role.
Pulp Fiction.
But
much later.
That came along later. The Crucible, the actual start of it, which was probably right around the time your dad came, was the whole Stanford thing. Anyway, so there you are.
Valley of the Heart's Content.
Yeah, there I am. And this is in the first chapter of American Borders, I think.
Right.
My motorcycle ride around the U.S. on a Russian sidecar motorcycle.
I'm showing it to the camera.
Wow.
Yeah. So, all right.
Well,
you got back into bikes.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've jumped ahead quite a few years.
And I like the story. It was through a husband.
Yes.
Who became a husband.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
I see what you did
like
there.
that. A husband.
Yes.
So
You want to explain why he became a husband?
Well,
Cramping your
yes.
style, huh?
Oh my gosh. We had bonded because of motorcycling and adventuring and all of that. But we both worked in Silicon Valley. I was a technical writer. He was an engineer, of course. And every year we were supposed to go to Europe and rent bikes. There weren't the bike rentals or the tours like there are now. And find bikes and ride around Italy because he has Italian heritage, and France because I'm just a Francophile. I love France. I knew I loved France. I hadn't been there.
Zut alors!
Exactly.
That's obvious.
Formidable.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Bagel's
Oh, don't even.
multilingual.
Yeah,
This
don't
is
worry, Rob.
amazing.
Stop
Don't-
showing off, Bagel.
Don't
Fromage.
encourage him.
You look like a bunch of scumbags.
Yeah,
We are
say,
pretty cultured.
start talking about your Ural and he'll start speaking
Oh,
gibberish.
good. Okay, good. I look forward to that actually.
So,
So to continue, I waited to go on this fabulous vacation with him for a few years, and he was always really busy. And so I just went by myself, and I'm like, honey, book your own ticket and rent your own motorcycle, and I'll see you there if you want. And I got on that plane. I remember San Jose Airport, when you had to walk across the tarmac.
Mhm.
And I got on that plane to Milan, and then to Milan, and I was like, oh God, I'm gonna go by myself to Europe by myself. And I already knew my marriage was pretty much over. And so I got to Milan and I picked up the Honda 750 touring
Ooh.
bike.
Yeah.
What was that? I can't even remember, Emma.
Well, it
Tell
had to be
me.
a CB.
yeah. I mean, it has to be some kind
In
of
Europe, though, it might not have been. Yeah.
right.
Anyway, it did have a big radiator on the front that when I got to the north of France and it got rained on a lot,
Right.
it quit. So I had to,
Oh,
camp
nasty
in the rain.
business.
Yeah. What's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, was it like an adventure bike or a touring bike? Was it,
was
like
a touring.
Was it a Deauville?
Oh.
So the guy who rented it to me was from Holland.
What year would this be?
This would be 88.
Oh, late
Like a
80s.
gold
yeah.
wing?
So-
Maybe a gold
It
wing.
wasn't a gold wing.
not a-
No,
not
not a 750.
Not a silver wing.
It wouldn't be a Transalp then.
It wasn't a
Mm.
Transalp. It wasn't as cool as that. It was just a plain old, bike with panniers and a windscreen, and it just.
It quit on you.
Well, yeah. That I looked at that front radiator. I'm like, this is very strange, right?
Well, the radiator wouldn't be the thing making it quit.
it sucked in all the water. Yeah. No.
No.
Even in the
that's not how that
pouring
works.
It's
rain.
probably electrical.
No, that's not that. Yeah, it's probably electrical.
You think?
Yeah, the radiator is.
But
not
nevertheless, we're focusing on the bike
But-
breaking down. We want to focus
So
on
you
the
you
good
got
stuff.
a bike by yourself and
Yes,
ride around.
Did.
How
And
did-
I was like, I'm getting the heck out of Italy because I wanted to go to France, and I sulked all the way through Italy. I actually got to the coast and got to this little tiny campground, and there were about 4 or 5 people there just besides me, and they were all on their way elsewhere. And one night, the owners came around and asked if we wanted pizza. Well, because that's what they said. That's the only thing I can understand. And oh my gosh, I got my first real Italian pizza. Have you?
It's a life-changing experience.
It completely is. They made it right there. She put eggs in the flour, and that was that. It was incredible.
Whoa, Margherita pizza.
Oh, I love it. So then I turned west toward France, and I sulked for a few more days, and and then one day I took my map off. It was kind of cloudy to the south and sunny to the north, and I was just like, I just put my map away, and I had been, following a planned route till then, and I just followed the sun. And that just made me happy. That was the moment, like putting the map away.
I am woman, hear me roar.
No, I mean it reminds me.
I don't need no man for
a
this
Beatles
trip.
song.
Well,
Someday
it reminds me
you'll-
of a very poignant moment at the beginning of Easy Riders, where Peter Fonda takes
Tossed
off his
watch.
watch and throws it away.
Mm-hmm.
And the symbolism there, of course, is that time has no meaning, and some very similar symbolism for you. I mean, this is not a structured journey anymore. Life changing.
It was.
Cool.
Of course. I mean, and then I also hadn't been talking it to anybody much. In the next campground, I parked next to some people. I was in my tent and I thought that there were nuts or something falling off a tree onto my tent.
Jim, pay
And
attention.
I kept
because
looking. Yeah, he's
this
gonna like
is
this.
your rule
I was
comes
looking, I
up
was trying
here.
to find her bike.
Your
Okay.
rule comes up
Okay.
here.
Like, if it's
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I kept getting out of my tent and looking around, and there were some Germans on my left and some Brits on my right, and I'm kind of looking around. They're looking at me strange, and finally I see this guy behind the fence, and I'm like, what? Yeah, he's been throwing rocks at the tent. Like, what?
Oh my gosh.
And so I walk over there, and I'm trying to figure out what he wants, and he just pretty quickly showed me because he pulled down his pants and started jerking off right in front of me.
Oh, fabulous.
I
That's
know.
so good.
No, that's not the rule I was talking about, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to go to the desert together? I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope you shot him in the dick.
But it
That'd be
gets-
so cool.
It gets better. No guns in France.
Oh yeah, true.
It gets better because I was so affronted. I stomped over to the camp office and I was just out of my mind. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. And then I was faced with the owner, this elderly gentleman who didn't speak any English at all. So I found myself pantomiming everything.
Oh no,
That's awesome.
He's the whole. Oh god.
Okay, can we
Oh
get,
my god.
can we get a reenactment? Can we get a reenactment
Oh
now?
boy.
It's audio.
Oh my god.
No, it's
Wow. Wow, that sucks, dude.
Well, and then, to make me feel better, he goes, Pierre. And he stomped off to find Pierre.
Oh, Pierre. After his
Yeah.
shenanigans.
Fucking dirty Pierre.
I know.
Was there any
I wonder what
helicopter?
Pierre's doing
So,
today.
and that was my first night of really bonding with my neighbors because they had seen this go on, and so
That'll do.
Oh, so
the Germans gave me
Oh,
beer.
no.
Right, we all had a party thanks to
So
Pierre.
you were
And-
traumatized collectively. Is that what happened?
Exactly.
Oh,
no, they were
no.
laughing. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not the story I thought you were going to tell. Sorry, Jim. Nothing to do with
Yeah.
him. I
I'm just looking
was
at VF 750s.
thinking more about,
VF 750?
and
Yikes,
could be.
Or
That would be
Magna?
more sport bike, right?
No, okay.
I was thinking more about, and maybe this is jumping too many steps, but you said it pays off to talk to strangers.
Well,
Yeah, not
guess it
Pierre,
depends
but
on
Not
the
Pierre.
subject.
Not Pierre.
Definitely
Not
not Pierre.
Or Pierre's little friend.
But that's one of
Yeah.
Jim's rules, and mine too.
Oh, to talk to people for sure.
Talk to people because
Yeah.
you never know
sure.
who you're going to meet and what's going to come of it.
No,
But
it's true.
wouldn't you say that your career has come from that?
Well, that or just being helplessly broke down on one of my crazy motorcycles on the side of the road going, I've got the multimeter out, I'm underneath it, and kind people stop and offer to help. So talk to strangers. Yes, you're
Ooh.
right.
Are there any countries that are like super friendly as opposed to others that maybe aren't so much? What are like the most friendly countries where people help you?
Okay. So I wouldn't have expected China to be friendly. In my China trip was in 1997, 98, and then I went back in 2008. And in 97 and 98, they had never seen a foreigner ever. And so I would appear and they would just stand there staring at me.
Oh, and you're blonde, which makes it even more.
I was-
yeah.
And tall.
Not even a woman. I was more like an alien from outer
Mhm.
space or
Right.
an animal, right? It wasn't a sexual being or a woman or anything. They would just stare because, there are no, in the countryside, there were no tourists. And they had government controlled TV back then. They still kind of do, but the only foreigners they saw were like the Russian kids going through the garbage, during that era, when it was becoming disunited. So, like North Korea, almost, they thought that they had this great life and everybody else was really suffering because that's what the government media was showing them. Right. So I come up on this huge Chinese motorcycle, sidecar motorcycle that I thought was indigenous, but nobody had ever seen one of those too. They have those little farm bikes, right? The little 125cc ag bikes, right?
Yeah.
So definitely I was a complete spectacle. But when I broke down, and I broke down often, I would have 100 people coming to my aid. They would drag me, they would tow my bike behind one of those little 3 wheel tuk-tuk things, farm tuk-tuks with a chain. They take me to the motorcycle shop, the repair shop, which you could recognize because there were, a dozen broken motorcycles out in the front yard. And then there would be a banquet in my honor, and I would stay the night, or 2 nights or 3 nights. It was awesome.
How cool.
So I think we've kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit now because we've gone from France to China. Just give a brief rundown of the countries you've ridden a motorcycle through. And
there were a few, and I actually had to write notes. All right. So here we go.
Let's hear this.
Right. Okay. So, 88 was the France trip.
Right.
And then, in 92, I wanted to ride a motorcycle through West Africa, but I talked to Chris Scott, who, do you know Chris Scott? Oh yeah. He writes all of the overlanding and, remote places books, and we wrote letters back and forth about West Africa. And he also, like me, also bicycles. And I decided to take a bicycle instead because they sell gas in little tiny bits, and you can't, you're likely to run out of gas before you want to get to where you want to go. So I spent 4 months in West Africa on a bicycle.
Okay. Well, that counts as adventure.
It was crazy. I love that.
Oh, and I just want to add in a side note, because you're also a mountain biker, and you were here in California for the birth of mountain bikes, which really came from Mount Tam up in Marin.
Yeah.
That's where they came from.
Yeah, I was early. I was so early that I would get yelled at by the hikers here.
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
And people were modifying 10 speeds and all that stuff.
Anyway, so back to the list. So we've got 92 in Africa.
How organized you are. Okay, so 92.
Taskmaster.
All right. And then 94, I had come back from living in Europe, and I decided that I wanted to explore the borders of the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
Right.
And I wanted, because my friends in Europe would say, "What's America like?" And I said, "That's terrible. I don't know." And they're like, "Well, you have the biggest, most interesting country in the world, you know?" And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get on a motorcycle and explore. And I was looking for the right bike, and I was rejecting Harleys because that was just too cliche. And this guy, my dad's friend Chuck, saw that the Ural was being imported from Russia in 94. This guy wanted to import them.
And I want to be clear. You said you were trying to find the right bike. Okay. Just double checking there. Because for most people, that would not be the right bike.
But nevertheless.
Especially by yourself.
Well, I had just sort of become a travel writer as well.
So you're seeking adventure.
I was seeking like no more Silicon Valley technical writing. But so I was transferring my skills to like PC World, reviewing laptops and GPS units and things like that.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember those days?
Dude, yeah. People still do that, but it's like it's a different format now.
No, but it was a game changer, wasn't it?
That was like nobody did that back then. Yeah.
Right. So I had this inroad because of my technical experience into PC World and those magazines. And that gave me the opportunity to propose to travel, right? And test them out. And so I went to a writers conference,
That's awesome.
a travel writers conference in Corte Madera at Book Passage. It was the first year, and I met a man named Alan Noren who worked for O'Reilly and Associates. And if you're a geek at all, you know this. They do all the computer books, and they were experimenting with this thing called the World Wide Web. And they had tried to get their very experienced, very famous travel writing journalists to go on trips and report back on this internet thing, but they were blowing up their modems by putting the plugging the modems into a digital PBX system at the hotels.
Mhm.
So they would go for a week or two and they would blow up the whole point of it was to report back to the road. So when the guy heard that I was a geek and a tech writer, he's like, "You're hired."
Yeah. You got the tech angle going for it too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it was a real break. It was a real right place, right time thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my dad's friend identified the Ural, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool!" Like, I just saw it as an opportunity to, meet people, because it was just, I mean, who wouldn't want to talk to me?
It's quite a polarizing motorcycle. There's very few neutral opinions about Urals. So it's a very good way to meet
What a
people.
great like icebreaker, right?
Oh, absolutely. So you go on this trip
Mm-hmm.
and you explore the southern and the northern borders. How many times did you break down on that Ural?
Oh,
More than 20?
That was a big sigh.
More than,
yeah,
yes.
more than 20.
Yeah, okay, very good.
But to be
But you got a lot of
fair,
banquets.
I wrote to the importer, and he's like, "We can't even ride this thing 100 miles without it breaking down. Do you
Oh.
want to be into that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a pretty good mechanic, and it seems
Right.
simple, and I want to do this journalism trip." And so he goes, "Okay, here's the bike."
Yeah.
And I spent a few days in Bellingham, and we worked on it. I learned how to ride a sidecar and fly the chair. And that's really important, because there have been a few times that I've almost flipped. And if I didn't know how to handle it on the two wheels, I would have flipped.
So would it be fair to say that you're probably one of the first, if not the first person to do sidecar trip in the States, or is like,
Yeah.
I'd imagine just very few at that point, right? Like,
No, there were none.
There
I
were
mean,
none. Okay.
I think this guy named Claude Stanley, he does Freedom motorcycles. I think there were people modifying, larger bikes to carry
Mhm.
the old, what do I want to say, Stibing
Yeah.
sidecars.
Mhm.
And so they were painting them, but really it just wasn't a thing. And
Yeah.
now you see them everywhere. But
Yeah.
literally, I would have kids pressed to the windows waving at me.
Yeah.
And people would stop me in restaurant parking lots. And
Yeah. I guess specifically a Ural, then you're probably
Right.
the first one to do it.
So
huh?
this was
Yeah.
94. How long did that trip take?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have any memorable Ural passengers? Like a goat or obviously not Pierre. What was his name?
Oh my gosh. I picked up some hitchhikers in China, but in the US with the Ural, I actually had a whole new engine in the side and lots of parts, plus my suitcase.
That's awesome.
A whole engine you traveled with an extra engine.
Yeah, this is just a boxer twin.
Jeez, I thought I was
Yeah.
a prepper.
He's like, "Listen, we can put cinder blocks in here, or we can put an engine in
Yeah.
here."
Step your game up,
Hey.
Bagel.
I'll take
Yep.
the engine.
Yeah, exactly. He knew I would need it. I
Yeah.
did.
Sounds like something Bagel would do.
Right? Bring all the spare parts you need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah, it was a good strategy.
Bagel was on a cross country trip recently, and he had an issue, and Emma deduced it and said, "Well, you need a new injector," which he just pulled one out because he
Where-
travels with those.
Where do you
Yeah.
pack those?
You don't want to.
Well, I
Prison wallet.
had, my injector's
like-
small. I
It's
had
like
it
a
in the end.
suppository.
It was in the underseat storage, no
I do
problem.
that.
Oh, I was close.
That's
Well-
what they call it these days.
And some quick questions. How many books have you written?
I've you would think I've written more, but I've written just the American Borders book. I wrote a little guide to cycling the French Riviera because I lived there again at one point, and I was mountain biking before I went to West Africa. I have a anthology called Stories from Elsewhere, and I've been working on my China Road Motorcycle Diaries forever. But stories from that trip have appeared in many motorcycle magazines and travel magazines.
I want to make sure we give it a plug. How do people find these?
You go to carlaking.com and there's a tab for books. And, I have a hidden tab, and it's journeys. So if you go to carlaking.com/journeys, JURNEYS, that lists all of my trips in order. And I have to go back and I don't even know if I got the dates right
And
to tell you now.
You can also go to carlaking.com.
You're very funny.
And it works also.
Carlaking works.
Carlaking.
Thank you for that.
I love the look on your face right now. Thank you. For
So
that.
many people do that.
Something there's
strange.
Really?
there's a phrase that you use that I love about your adventures, and that you've been to many countries and ridden many cranky indigenous motorcycles.
Yep.
Can
I
you talk
love
a little
that.
bit more about what cranky indigenous motorcycles you've ridden besides the Ural?
Yeah, the Ural got me hooked. It did because, people help me. I was on the side of the road and like China, I had to get dragged to people's homes and I lived in their homes with them. Where I was going, there weren't very many hotels, right?
Yeah.
Or even motels. Because you had to stay at the back roads. 52 miles an hour was really a good speed for the Ural at
Was
that
it
time.
paved or dirt mostly in China?
Oh, well, in China. Okay, so China is the Ural is the copy of the 38 BMW, right? Sidecar motorcycle, like Steve McQueen.
Mhm.
What's that movie?
Great Escape.
Great Escape,
Escape, yeah.
yes. And the Chinese Changjiang is a copy of the copy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one with the plaid seats, right? Like
And,
Scottish
and
tartan.
reverse.
Yeah, and reverse gear.
And the Changjiang means like the Ural is named Ural because it's made in the Ural Mountains. And the Changjiang is made in the area of the Yangtze River. And Emma can say Changjiang correctly in Chinese. Go for it.
Oh, the Zhongshan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Junction.
Yeah, not that I speak Chinese.
So
But
it's
Mandarin.
spelled.
I've worked on a few.
Yeah, love to talk about that.
Yeah, quality control is
Yeah.
interesting. But the thing is, it's very, very easy to say, oh, it's made in China and it's crap. And that's not entirely true because Chinese manufacturers will make whatever you want. I mean, if you want
Yeah.
something really high quality, they'll make it for you. But they're just going ahead in leaps and bounds.
Mhm.
And the stuff coming out of China, particularly the vehicles now, are amazing quality. So,
Emma, can you just go ahead and rip that candy wrapper open? You're killing me with that
Oh,
sound.
no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be crinkly. Jim has just thrown me a Werther's Original, which is easily the finest candy. It's the finest candy in the world. And I promise to suck it and not crunch on it because they are quite creepy-enty.
While you're sucking on that,
Yes.
I wanted to take
that's
I
good.
wanted to take a quick break and just say, Carla, it's a darn shame that you never did any of your trips on a truly American cranky indigenous motorcycle, which I think we all agree would
American.
be Harley Davidson, right?
Or an Indian.
Yeah.
Because if you did, you could join Fix My Hog.
Dang
And they would tell you how to fix your bike. In fact, does your clutch need adjustment? Have you been putting off installing those new handlebars because you're not sure about the wiring? Do your brake pads need changing? Well, Fix My Hog can help you. They have an amazing offer. Sign up for Fix My Hog's premium membership with this exclusive. I know you like exclusive deals, Emma. It's the exclusive Motorcycles and Misfits deal, and get a full year of their premium membership for only $3.
No way.
Way.
$3,
it's
y'all.
Yes.
It's a bargain, I tells you, mister. It's
Can
a
you
bargain.
believe that, Carla, with everything going on now? $3. You can visit go.fixmyhog.com/misfits to take advantage of the great offer. The discount will be automatically applied at the checkout. They have a community of passionate riders who are committed to mastering their wrenching skills. The premium membership will get you access to hundreds of full-length instructional videos led by master Harley Davidson technicians. We need to get some Emma, get you making some videos for them. Their videos are focused on helping you develop new wrenching technique and getting you inspired to complete your new project. So sign up for Fix My Hog premium membership for only $3.
Only $3.
And just remember to go.fixmyhog.com/misfits. Get your discount. Can you imagine what a game changer doing your adventures
Yeah.
would be like with the resources we
Oh my
have
gosh.
now
Yeah.
and with like YouTube instructions and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's crazy because with the Ural trip, David Hoff, who you might recognize his name. He writes a lot of motorcycle manuals and how-tos. He wrote the first Ural manual, and then I took that and tested it for 10,000 kilometers.
So I'm just curious
Wow.
why.
Wow.
I would think the Ural manual would be about as heavy as that spare engine.
Yeah, pretty
You
much.
should have just
yeah.
used that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no, with the tech, so I think this is almost why I got the bike too, is because I have a tech writing background, and I really did a number on that manual. You know, especially since they went through 4 gas tanks, and this is
What?
why 4 gas tanks.
Wow.
What happened to the gas
The
tanks?
right front side where it was welded, cracked.
Ooh.
There was just, it was just one of those quality control on the manufacturing line problems. It would rattle, and then gas would be flowing down onto the engine, of course, which is always fun.
And
Well,
it
there's
did
that-
that on all 4 tanks, you said?
Well, okay, on
All
3,
tanks?
and
Okay.
on the 4th one, I'm like, rubber washers and zip ties,
Yeah.
right, are going on that front right
I see.
connector. So I don't know why I just didn't do that in the first place.
I have a question for you. For anyone who has not ridden a
I think
bike with a sidecar.
I'm going to form the delineation here.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
If it is one-wheel drive, you ride it.
Okay.
If it's two-wheel drive,
Yeah.
i.e. the sidecar wheel is driven, I think you drive it. How do you
Interesting.
feel about that, Bagel?
I was going to say if it leans, you ride it. If it doesn't, you drive it.
Mm.
You can lean the shit out of a
This is getting
sidecar if
deep.
you're brave enough.
Well, I was going to say, for anyone who hasn't, it's quite an experience. Not always easy to handle, not always going the way you want it to go. It kind of has a mind of its own. Would you say, very used to it by the end, where it was just second nature to you, or was it always kind of a
Yeah,
struggle?
and it was a great upper body workout
Mm.
too, right?
Mm.
Because to turn right, everything is lighter on the left side, right? So
Mhm.
you're flying the chair, and if
Yeah.
you turn if you turn left, if you turn right, everything is bearing down like on a car
No.
when you turn left,
No,
Turn
turning
right.
right, the car will go
and turning
in the air.
Right?
Turning left,
Turning
you're
left.
putting the weight
yeah,
onto the
exactly,
car.
exactly,
Yeah.
and so that takes a lot of strength.
car. Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially if you're going too fast, because it can
Yeah.
break. So what can happen on one side is you can, sort of break loose and skid. And on the other side, you can actually flip the
So-
sidecar.
I'm actually sitting next to Carla
Right.
on the Classic Girl carriage. And,
You're in the car right now.
and
right.
I got some biceps, but they're
Yeah.
nothing compared to hers.
We're gonna arm wrestle.
She's like, yeah, you strong, Carla.
You know, I have to say though, with those Urals, I've ridden one on the street. I have no interest to do it again. It's
Really?
like I've done it, but I really want to take one off roading. Have you guys
Yes.
seen these people doing off road adventures on them?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That looks fun.
Well, watch the racing, like the motocross racing
Yeah.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wackadoo.
No, and they do these Russian instructional videos with the jolly music soundtrack and these jauntily dressed chaps
Yeah.
riding these things through
Mhm.
streams and through
gosh.
muds and you know?
Adventure people love these things. Was it Carmen Gentile? He also had a Ural with a sidecar when he was where, in Afghanistan or Iraq?
Iraq.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
abandoned it there, and I think it was one of the great regrets of his life. And
Mm.
Well,
wants to
it's
go back
parked
and get it.
there.
It's parked
Yeah.
there.
So you probably learned a lot on that adventure, and a book came out of it. How long did it take you to write the book?
Well, I did the trip in 95 and the book came out in 2004.
Oh,
So I wasn't really thinking
Yeah.
about writing a book. And then, people kept asking me for more stories. And then I thought, well, it's a weekly blog. So you can't really get any depth or insights overall. So I added a bunch of stuff.
this sounds like Elsbeth Beard's story.
Yeah.
Did you not think that it was worthy of a book?
I didn't even think about it at the time. I was such a
Wow.
geek. I was like, oh, this real-time dispatches to the internet thing. Wow, that's so cool. And I can write these
What a
stories.
nerd.
and-
Was it like you go through LiveJournal or something like that, or some kind of
Yeah.
service?
It was no, it was O'Reilly and Associates had set this thing up called the Global Network Navigator.
Oh, okay.
And it was a channel. And right in the middle of my trip, America Online bought it because they had email service, but they had no content. And so I had two great editors, Alan Noren, the first half, and then Michael Shapiro edited the second half of my trip. And I needed an editor, believe you me, because I was really transitioning from a tech writer to a wannabe travel writer, and I didn't have
Gotcha.
mad skills. Right.
Yeah,
travel
yeah,
writing skills. Now I teach travel writing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a learning curve, but there's this amazing structure to storytelling. If you study writing at all, if you're interested, that you can actually almost mathematically dissect a story and know whether it's going to be good or not. Right. And fill in the blanks. So I didn't have that yet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Although, we all are natural storytellers as well. The campfire stories, if we have a point, the lesson learned,
Well, yeah, we
theme.
were just. I was thinking about Mike and his toilet stories earlier today, and his
Oh,
plumbing
my.
fiascos.
Oh, my. So in the Elspeth Beard vein again, so you broke down and had banquets and met people. Did you ever actually hit your meal? Did you take out an animal that was then cooked?
No, I don't think I hit an animal ever.
Well, that's good.
I did have a bird fly into my leg up in Tahoe once, but I think that's my only roadkill.
All right. I wanted to take a little side trip here.
Okay, Emma's not going to like that.
No, this is Emma's chance to shine.
Oh God.
I want to take a side trip because I love this phrase, cranky indigenous bikes. I want to know from Emma.
Yes.
Can you name other cranky indigenous
God.
bikes you're familiar with? And let's see if Carla's ridden one.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, and I've always been this huge advocate of this reverence for the domestic product. And it's true in England, it's true in America, and you're presented with a domestic product that might be in some ways inferior to the imported stuff, but people hold it close to their heart because it's made by your countrymen and women. And so, of course, here in America, we have Harley Davidson and Indian, which are both fine motorcycles. In England, when I was growing up in the 70s, you would go, every big town would have at least 4 or 5 biker bars. And this biker bar would be where all the guys who ride the Japanese bikes hang out. And, they all had long hair and wore bright colors. But then the bar down the road was a little darker and older, and that's where the BSAs and the Triumphs and the Nortons were parked outside. And those were the bad guys.
Oh, yeah. The
The
Birmingham Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, exactly. The Peaky Blinders set. But it was always the British bikes. And they, in a lot of ways, they were a little more serious than the import guys. But now we get into slightly more obscure makes that people haven't really heard of. So Spanish, I mean, we all know bull tacos and osas. Sanglass, the police bikes. Anyone heard of
No,
Sanglass?
I have
never
not
heard of that.
So Sanglass was a very, very interesting company. They were heavily subsidized by the government, as a lot of the Spanish manufacturers were.
How do you spell that?
Sanglas. So the early bikes were 500 singles, almost exclusively ridden by the Guardia Civil. Absolutely brilliant bikes. And then they simplified it by putting Yamaha 400 twin engines in.
Oh.
Yeah, I see it. This is pretty cool.
It's a cool bike.
Oh.
Yeah, nice little
Almost
standard
reminds me of
upright.
Laverna.
Well, yeah, it's got that kind of feel to it. And what else did we talk about? Portuguese. Casal. Casal. Now, Casal was the domestic Portuguese manufacturer right across the road from Spain, basically made lightweight bikes, 125s, 50s. They made some very, very appealing 50cc bikes,
Very
which were
cute.
super sports.
Yeah, like a little cafe hop around kind of bike.
Yeah, if you look up a Casal Phantom 5, it's a great looking little thing, little 5-speed transmission with 50cc's. It's a neat little bike.
It's like a big bike and a little engine.
With
Exactly.
a cool name.
Yeah, Phantom 5.
It's like Fab Freddy and the
Now-
Phantom 5.
So let's go a little bit further north to France. I mean, we have an Anglophile, Francophile sitting on.
Do they have a motorcycle?
They do.
Oh.
Oh wait, Phil had one. Phil had one in at Vintage Days, a French
It's a TDM.
bike.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
he had a dirt bike.
Well, there's-
France.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
France is one of the only countries in the world that had a cigarette manufacturer produce a motorcycle.
Galois? The Galois?
What?
No, Gitane.
Gitane.
Oh,
Gitane.
did you ride one of these, Carla?
I did not, but I will now.
Oh.
Yeah,
She put it on her list.
amazing looking thing. And again, a super sport lightweight bike.
Mhm.
And then you've got a company like Moto Became,
Mhm.
who made their name making very, very small, lightweight step-through scooters.
I had a bicycle, I thought.
Moto Became.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, in the early 70s, they come out this thing, the Moto Became 350, which is an amazing looking bike. It's a 3-cylinder 2-stroke
Oh,
with lots of power and marginal handling and lots of fun for the whole family. It's like, where the hell did that come from?
Hmm.
Who else can we talk about? We can talk about Czechos.
Well, I find it
CZ.
interesting that
Yeah. We can talk about Czechoslovakia with the CZ, or as I would say, the CZ.
Yeah. East Germany.
East Germany with the Moto Zopau.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the one I
Or
was
if you
talking
like
about.
the
scooters.
Jawa. Where did that come
Jawa
from?
also comes out of
Czech.
From Star
Czechoslovakia.
Wars.
Yeah.
Tatooine, I think.
And then, you get into the Hungarian makes Pannonia.
The Minsk.
The Minsk. Russian is the
Yeah.
Minsk.
And Dnieper.
Yeah, the
Dnieper.
Dniepers. Yes.
Right.
Or
Yes.
as
Dniepers,
Uncle Phil
which
calls
is
them,
an
the
even
Dniepers.
more agricultural version of the Ural.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, Carla, if you wanted to continue your riding cranky indigenous bikes, I think Russia would be the mother load, wouldn't it?
It would.
Well,
Right?
what we need, but the thing is, not necessarily just Russia. We very much take it for granted here in America that if we regard modern history, and when I say modern history, the tangible, the houses we live in, the roads we drive on, the shops we go into, the whole infrastructure, it's really post Second World War. I think everybody here would agree.
Yeah.
And post Second World War, pretty much everybody in America has had access to a car of some description. If you go to Russia, if you go to Czechoslovakia, you go to Hungary, you go to Poland, people don't have that option. There simply isn't the money around.
Yep.
So motorcycles, and particularly lightweight motorcycles and sidecars, play a huge role in just moving people around. So I would suggest that anywhere in Eastern Europe is the mother lode. If you want to see the coolest sidecar in the world, look up a Duna sidecar, D-U-N-A, usually stuck on the side of a Pannonia bike. They're amazing looking things. And it was simply so mom and dad and the kids could go out at the weekend. Anybody find a Duna yet?
Oh, wait. Oh, that's it looks almost like that, like the Vetter scooter.
Well, it looks like it's got a damn great rocket stuck on
Yeah,
the
it
front.
does.
It looks like
That's
it's got
cool.
the Studebaker nose on it.
Yeah.
And that's a Pannonia that's attached to. I recognize that red
Oh,
seat
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. There was a German sidecar that had a very similar
that's
styling as
great.
well, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this was transportation for the masses. Now, to a certain extent in England, you could, people rode Norton Commandos and Bonnevilles, and these were the glamour bikes. But there were thousands of people who commuted to work on BSA Bantams and James Captains and, Aerial Pixies, and just very, very mundane small capacity bikes because there simply wasn't the money around. And you couldn't afford a car, even a used one, but you could afford a little motorbike. They're very cheap to run. So,
and there's the Enfield, which was made by a rifle company.
Exactly. Royal Enfield is a very, very interesting company because you've got Royal Enfield, who, like BSA, was a gun manufacturer. You still buy an Enfield rifle. You can still actually buy a BSA rifle. The gun making
over there,
the gun making, certainly in BSA's case, has eclipsed the motorbike case. And then you have production in England, and then in 1955, India says, "Oh, I'd like to manufacture an Enfield bullet, please." Royal Enfield says, "Okay, we'll set up a factory there." And then it kind of split, and English Enfield kind of soldiers on until 1970 or 71, and Indian Enfield carries on, developing this late 1940s design. And they carry on developing it into this amazing thing they've got now. And then finally, they're building their own twin-cylinder engine.
What's the deal with like firearms company getting into motorcycles? Is it because they have the tooling?
It's all about the tooling.
Like
forgings and all that.
Well, let's take BSA as an example. So BSA were a very, very small precision gun manufacturer, and then the Boer War came along, which was the very, very late 19th century. And suddenly demand for guns was huge because, there's a bloody war going on.
Yeah.
And so BSA produced all these guns for the Boer War, and very, very good guns. And the Boer War's over. What do you do now? What do we do now? Sit around and twiddle our thumbs? Well, we're used to precision work and small precision work. Let's make a motorbike and a bicycle.
Right. And speaking of, you'll like this, Liza, the British, I believe. Check me out here, Emma, because
I don't know what you're going to say.
Blimey.
The British
so
are fabulous people and kind and generous and always very good looking. And
there you go.
Cheeky though.
Exactly. And then when they wanted a force to protect their colony, India, from those people in Pakistan.
Yes.
That's when they gave them the tooling and the factories.
Because remember, if you are a gun manufacturer who suddenly switched to making motorbikes, in time of war, you can switch back to making lots of guns quite quickly.
Yeah.
Yep. Not piano so much. Or maybe so. Yamaha, what they have piano.
Oh, Yamaha make a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yamaha
before the war, right?
Yes.
Yamaha was piano.
Yes. Yamaha and
Suzuki too, right?
Yeah, Suzuki made Suzuki made mills.
Textile mills.
Yep. And what was it? Kawasaki, they were kind of an interesting bunch. I mean, Kawasaki have had their fingers in Japanese industry forever. And they make ships, helicopters, aircraft.
Heavy industry, all that.
Yeah, a lot of the heavier Japanese bombers in the Second World War were Kawasaki's. But yeah, so there you go.
Cool.
So yeah, that's just an example of some of the indigenous makes of motorbikes, and we're not talking about people who build stuff in their shed like John Britton. You know, these are proper manufacturers.
I know earlier I said that the Harley Davidson was a cranky indigenous bike, but I do want to change that because I think we also deduce it is the Coleman pull start mini bike is truly the cranky indigenous motorcycle of America.
Literally cranking it.
Made in China, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
you have
Totally.
a portable stove manufacturer who's making a motorbike is almost good as a cigarette company making
Exactly.
a moped.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Carla, so you've had so many great adventures. I want to ask you, what does the future hold for you? What adventures do you have in the future?
So hard now. I mean, I was meant to go. My last trip was to Thailand in November 2019. My gosh. So in 2019, I have some friends who are Belgique who live in Chiang Mai, and they have teenagers and they have a million scooters and motorcycles, and they explore that area all the time. And so I took them up on their invitation for a month, which was not long enough.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought, when I was young, I would go to, China and India and all these hard places and save like Thailand and, Hawaii or something, all these beautiful tropical beachy places till later. But it can be pretty hardcore riding in that part of the world. I don't know if any of you have, but you can definitely go on road. Is beautiful, narrow little roads through jungle, lots of detours through farming towns and the villages and the places you sleep. And I didn't go to the beaches because way too far away. Very good food, very fabulous, friendly people. And I wanted to go back this last year, but I have not been able to, of course.
Well, I'm
Or
sorry.
this year.
That was a wrong answer.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The future for you is Pakistan.
You think?
Yes.
I know. You got.
See, Bagel's been there too.
Do you know? I've never been on an organized trip my whole life.
Oh,
Yeah.
she wouldn't like it. She wouldn't
It's
like it.
not
You're like
that
you're like a
organized.
feral cat.
There's,
You can't do an organized trip. You'd be
There's-
bored to tears.
I don't know if I
darling.
would in
there's-
a place like that. Do you think?
there's still
Yeah.
plenty of chaos to be enjoyed.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
think plenty of chaos.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hope
Sounds like
I
a
hope-
great trip, and I hope it
It is.
happens and that it's, everybody goes and, yeah.
Well, I hope to get you on that trip, but also I hope that you'll continue to come back and share more stories
Okay.
with
I'm
us.
gonna look at my list. I think I have
I
a few
know.
left. I didn't even talk about Italy or India or around the Adriatic or Baja.
That's just going to give people an excuse to go to your website and buy your book.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, we are limited with time and we can only really get a snapshot of who
Oh.
you are. And I think we've been quite successful with that because Carla King is actually a pretty cool cat and clearly loves motorbikes,
Clearly
which
do.
makes her okay with us.
Yay.
And is every inch a misfit, which also makes her one of us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you are very
you're local
welcome,
now.
darling.
I
And you are a local yokel.
That goes way back,
But-
son.
I mean,
That's it.
number one, please come back on the show and talk about further adventures. But just give a plug. What is going to be the easiest way for any of our listeners to get to information about Carla King and read about your adventures?
Yeah, it is at carlaking.com, not Carla King at .com works as well.
You love that, Liza.
I also have a website. I teach people how to write, finish, and publish.
I was going to say that's
their stories.
another service that you do because there's so many people listening to us who maybe have adventures and have always dreamed to share them
Travel,
like
right.
you
Yes.
do, and you are that conduit
Yeah.
to get people to be able to do that, to be
Right.
moto journalists. Or what do you say it, Knock?
Ducati Literati.
There you go.
Moto Laureate.
Moto
Moto
Laureate.
Laureate.
But
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, people have so many stories, and I just so enjoy pulling it out of them and layering the experiences and getting them to open up on the page to share
Nice.
that universal experience. And I run a Your Motorcycle Diaries workshop that's coming up pretty soon.
Cool.
And teach people how to write for the motorcycle magazines, gear reviews or travel stories or anthologies of stories or memoirs or blog posts.
Hey,
All of the above.
if you're bored, if you want to come by next week and talk about some more, you've got an open invitation here, apparently. That's
I'd
how that
love to
works.
talk about writing.
Yeah.
Writing. I'm a writer,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, thank you for
So-
pronouncing
Writer,
that
writer.
correctly,
Yes,
Carla.
Emma. Well, I can't. You're within slapping distance.
Yes,
Oh
exactly.
my! Here we go. Here we go. Oh my
Nice.
goodness.
Well, Jim, you got a quick
I had a
one?
quick. Well, two things. One, if you're looking for something to do, John and I are going to the high desert, Nevada, in a couple of weeks, so you can join us there. With
I
the
think you'll
KTM
find it.
350
I think you'll find
EXC.
it's never dark.
Wait.
He just wants to ride my motorcycle.
No, I
He does.
Hold on. I do want to ask that question. Can you list all the motorcycles that you currently have?
Oh yes, this is a good one.
Well, I have your favorite, the KLR 650.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah. And I have a KTM EXC, KTM
350?
450
Four-
EXC.
Ooh.
And I put a,
Oh.
yeah. And guess you're going to ooh again. I put a recluse clutch on it.
Nice.
Ooh.
How did that work?
Yeah.
Has that served you quite well?
Oh my gosh. You know how when you're facing a rock wall with cactus on one side and barbed wire on the other side, and you've got sand pits and rattlesnakes, and you do
Poop in
not
your
want to
pants.
stall it?
Yes.
Yeah.
all the time.
Like that.
Yes, I know that well.
Right.
Fear.
That's a good
We're
reason.
close.
And what else do you got?
And I have a KTM 950 Supermoto.
Oh, you like
Yeah,
those?
that's
You
just
like
ridiculous.
those?
Thing's a
You
beast,
got
man.
your hooligan bikes.
And it's coming in
Austrian.
sale, by the way, right? You're trying to get rid of it?
I am. It makes me feel like a 17-year-old boy.
You want that bike.
I
want
guess I have two collarbones. You know, I might.
You still have two collarbones?
I could sacrifice the other one. Who knows? Maybe.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
And I have one more question for you that I did not prepare you for.
Mm-mm.
Uh-oh.
Here it comes.
Here
Oh
it
boy.
comes.
Oh god.
So just know this is a question we
This
ask
is a PR level.
all
question.
of our guests.
Oh God, prepare.
Yes.
Prepare yourself,
Um,
Carla.
And I just want to prepare you that this is a phrase that we use that means, the ultimate, the bike, your dream bike. So the question is, what is your up the butt bike? What that means is a bike that you look at and go, oh, I'd take it up the butt for that. Right? There's got to be, is there a bike that is like been your dream bike? And it could be like a bike that doesn't exist, or it could be a famous historical bike, or it could just be whatever your next bike is. But I can tell
I
you,
love them all so much.
this is mine right here.
Is that a
behind me.
Hayabusa? What is that?
No, that's a Harley
wanna stretch
Davidson
boozle.
MotoGP
That-
bike.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
So cool, right?
yes.
So what bike is it?
If I bought a bike right now, what would it be? It would be
Well,
the Ducati Scrambler. The
No, this could
Ducati-
no. Your up the butt bike is a bike that's almost unobtainable.
Oh, unobtainium.
Yeah. What's a bike that you're like, oh,
Man, I don't even think like that. I think about the Royal Enfield Himalayan. you know,
You're in a different crowd now.
you
oh
might
my
have lower
gosh,
standards
I'm
than
gonna
me.
have
That's
to
fine.
do that next time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to think about
Oh,
that.
man.
You know,
I'm
in
gonna
the-
stay
text
awake
the
at
answer.
night.
In the meantime, I was going to ask you: do you ever think about doing photography along with the writing? Do you ever take pictures?
You know,
and think about
I have
exploring that?
such a hard time with that. I am so busy talking to people that I forget to
Mm,
take their
I get that.
pictures.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you does that happen to you, or
Yes.
are you
I
more-
go where no
Yeah,
people are.
I'm not an
Yeah.
observer. I'm a
Mhm.
participant, and
Yeah.
I always
Mhm.
forget to stop and observe.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
what I
there's
mean.
that thing where when you take the camera out, it becomes the transactional
Mhm.
somehow in
Yeah.
certain
Right.
countries. And
Oh,
I just
interesting.
love to, I mean, at the
Like,
end of
keep
a
it pure.
trip, and I almost always forget at the end of a trip, like in Morocco, I got invited to this family's house. And I mean, Morocco was the friendliest place to ride. And I was by myself, and people were like, what? By yourself? And it was
Mhm.
amazing. And I wanted to take a picture of this family at the end, but I was just so glowing with goodwill and, just I forgot.
Yeah.
And they would have
Live in
loved
the
it.
moment,
And
right?
Emma-
Live in the moment.
Emma has a different problem. She takes tons of pictures everywhere she goes, but then she always forgets to take pictures of anyone else. They're just all of her.
So
But
bad.
actually, funnily enough, one of my greatest regrets is not taking more pictures when I was young,
Mhm.
because we didn't think about it
It was
then.
harder then.
And it was harder because you were dealing with rolls of
Ordeal,
film
expensive.
and
Yes. Mhm.
expensive cameras. And in any group, there was always the group photographer.
Yeah.
And
That photog nerd
in
that just shot away.
our group, it was a guy called Pete. And Pete's kept a lot of this stuff. And it's amazing to
Yep.
look through it.
You ever holler
Like
at
just
Pete
the
and go,
Oh, yeah.
yeah?
And he'll come up with this thing that's a snapshot in time.
Mm.
And he'll come up with a picture of me taken in 79 or something. And I'm like, oh my God, that is wild.
Put that in your shop.
During
Some
the
old
Boer
school
War.
photos.
Well,
I know.
Carla, since you live here now, I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to find out your up the butt bike.
Yeah.
But until then, we're going to answer some emails and see if we can help some other people.
Email time.
Bagel, you should have yours queued up, ready to go.
All right.
This
is,
one is, I got one from Parker who says,
Hey, Parker.
help a Harley guy. Now, Knock, I know you're trying to get out, but I need your help on this one. This is really your department. Okay.
How to wheelie?
So he says, hey,
What?
Misfits, I have a Sportster and recently purchased a couch on wheels, also known as the Ultra Classic.
Mm.
While it's great for touring, I find it lacking in the 0 to 60 department.
Mhm.
I no longer need to take the Sportster on long rides, so I'm thinking that I want to swap it out for a performance-oriented bike. I've never ridden a sports bike, in quotes. So I want to know, would I be happy with a 600cc? Would I kill myself on a 1000cc? I'm an experienced rider, know my limits, and I'm a bit biased towards Honda, but what would you recommend in the 5 to 6,000 K range?
Okay, so he's got a Sportster. He has a Sportster at one point, or he does?
If he has an Ultra Classic, I'm guessing he's old enough to ride a leader bike and
Okay.
and
How many horsepower
stay in
is that,
control.
Emma? Probably like about 85 horsepower, 100
What's
Ultra
that?
Classic.
The Ultra Classic.
Yeah, I mean, but it's it's heavy.
Weighs
So
900
Yeah.
pounds.
Okay. So here's the thing. It's when it comes to bikes, it's about weight to power ratio.
Yeah.
If you have an 80 horsepower bike and it weighs like 450 pounds, it's gonna give you a good thrill. SV650, God, I hate saying it because that's like the Camry of motorbikes. You'll still have fun on that thing.
I've
know?
I've got the perfect bike for him already.
All right, what you
I have one in mind.
1250 Bandit.
got?
1250 Bandit.
Well, yeah, if you want to,
$5,000 will buy him. $5,000 will buy him the best 1250 Bandit in the world.
Yeah.
And if he wants a fuel injected bike, Ninja 1000.
How much?
That's
How
what I
much
was
does a
gonna say.
1250 Bandit weigh? What, like 450?
Yeah, somewhere about that.
500?
475. But you sit upright.
Yeah.
And
an upright
it's
bike.
got. And the thing is, yes, it's a fast bike, and it will flatten your eyeballs when you whack the throttles open.
You know,
But it's fun enough to ride just using the torque of that engine.
I was thinking maybe a street triple, maybe a little.
Do you
older
remember
model.
he said he prefers Hondas?
Oh,
which is
well,
why I'm going to
CB.
say VFR.
And the VFR is a good bike, but
The
I
The
tell
new-
you
the
what,
new
800,
VFRs.
VFR 800 would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
His price range is what, $5,000? you
5 to
said?
6 grand. I
I'm
think
gonna-
Old
gonna-
CBR would be good too.
How about if I throw out close to a Honda,
CBF 650?
Yamaha FC1,
FC1, can't go wrong.
100,000 miles plus. It'll
Yeah,
fastest
that's
fuel,
How many horsepower?
140,
It's
140
gonna be
stock.
night and day though, coming from that Harley.
He'll
I
be
mean,
all right.
He'll be all right, but I mean, it's
But the
it's
power,
a different kind of horsepower. It's like up there too, though. You
Yeah,
know?
but
Well,
Lots
and
of
that
torque.
is why I suggested the Bandit,
yeah.
because you don't have to ride it up there. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get
okay.
plenty thrills riding a Bandit below 6,000.
yeah.
And then
I-
just crap your pants
I'd
the
focus
first time
on,
you
like-
take it above that.
Yeah, I'd focus on something that's got similar ergonomics. That's, I mean, like forward controls to lower controls is probably a better.
Mid control for
mid-control,
Harley.
excuse me.
Mid
I
control
think-
for
Controls
Harley.
the handlebars.
Wow.
I think Carla will back me up on this one. It's not a Honda. But come on, like a 990, like a Super Duke.
No.
Oh
no.
my gosh.
Oh no.
How
If
come-
he
How
wants
much you wanna
a thrill,
wrench?
how come
No.
you didn't-
Yeah.
how
and
come
it's a
the Versus
twin,
didn't
so
come
it's
up?
going to be
The
somewhat
verses
similar.
didn't come out
versus
fine.
1,000.
Well, because I know the
I
Versus is a
agree.
twin, but it doesn't really feel like it. Somebody coming from a Harley
the
used to
Versus-
feeling a motor.
Versus 1,000 is a four.
My Ducati 900 SS had that
Yeah.
pull, you know.
900 SS would be cool, but they're rare. And like if you find one, hopefully it's it's.
Yeah.
What about
gotta
a V?
preserve it.
What about a VMAX?
VMAX wouldn't be too bad. It's got.
I'm sticking with
Yeah,
Viffer.
that's what I'm saying.
Viffer.
No,
Go with the
Viffer would be a good choice. It's just like finding a Viffer for $5 to $6 grand. It's a love bike, so be careful.
What did you do, Jim?
What is that noise?
No, it's a choo-choo train.
Choo-choo train.
Oh, you turned something on. All right, now Carla, I'm going to prepare you for what's about to happen.
Uh-oh.
The very special emails we send to Bagel to read
Mhm.
for a reason. Bagel, what email do you have?
I have an email titled Advice Needed from Hans Howard.
And where is
The
Hans
Amish?
Hart?
Well, it'll be revealed. Hans writes, Dear Misfits, enjoying your chit-chats immensely since a year back or so. Keep up the good work. Located in Sweden, not
Oh!
Switzerland. I was sad I missed the opportunity to call in last episode for some advice. Having ridden Sportsters, Hugger, and 1200 Sport that I upgraded to a Buell X1, I'm now riding my dream, the EBR 1190 RX, one of only a few over here. Oh, and I kept my X1, which my wife rides while going together. Those bikes are not the question, however. My wife bought a Vespa G250 GTS anniversary 2 years back. It is a nice little commuter with a few minor niggles. First of all, we find that when turning left, the kickstand often drags on the ground like in a roundabout. Is there anything that can be done about that? Replacement parts, etc. Also, I seem to notice a constant tug to the left while going straight forward, meaning you need to constantly mind the steering. Either hand must always adjust by a slight push or tug. What do you think is up with that? Where should we start investigating? Oh, and one more thing. My up-the-butt bike is Mark Miller's I Love TT EBR,
Ooh, yeah.
famous
Okay.
from the video games, currently for sale here in Sweden to the tune of roughly 65K plus VAT. My wife was offended when I asked her for hers. I can't think of why. And it also says, if you ever need an interview with someone involved in racing the Buells and EBRs, you should hit up Jens at NCCR, who has the Isle of Man TT bike in his office. Super friendly and lots of stories and knowledgeable as few. All the best and keep the black rubbery parts down. Hans Kestelhard.
All
Thank
right.
you, Hans.
What do you
Oh,
think,
yeah,
Carly?
you know-
Did he do a good job?
Wow.
Just wow.
It was like you were there.
It's like
It
you're
is.
wearing
It's
lederhosen
like
now.
you're there. It is like you're where I don't know, but it's like you're
Would you-
there.
Would you like some dingleberries with that?
All of a sudden, there's
Uh,
a Saint Bernard in the
so-
studio.
So, what do you think about his Vespa GTS?
So, I have a few thoughts. First, it wasn't entirely clear what the issue is. If the center stand is actually coming down and
Hold
Like-
on 1 second. Knock, you got to go?
Yeah, I gotta go get some dinner and walk home.
All right, see you now.
I'll
Bye.
talk to you guys later.
Bye.
See you later,
Bye.
Instagram. Bye, y'all.
Why
All
not?
right, so yeah, and
Okay.
so
so if
It's
the
just
center
a-
stand, if the center stand is actually coming down while you're in the turn and like
Mhm.
it's pivoting down and hitting the ground, that's going to be your center stand springs. There should be two of them.
Oh,
And what may have
Oh.
happened is one of them broke and there's only one that's holding it up just barely. So when you get into that turn with a centrifugal force, it pushes the center stand down.
Hang
and
on,
that's why it's
Bagel.
dragging.
I'm going to stop
Yes.
you there. I think he said
Yes.
it was a side stand.
the kickstand.
The
often drags
kickstand.
on the ground.
Well, yeah, is it the kickstand or center stand? That's a good question.
If it's a kickstand,
well,
it's probably got one of those hokey aftermarket kickstands
Yes.
that ground.
And
what's-
that's a very good point because the U.S. market bikes don't come with the side stand, but the European market bikes do. So that's a very good point. And unfortunately for those, they do stick out to the side pretty far. and there isn't much you can do to keep those from scraping other than you could try raising
Not
the
leaning it
suspension.
over as much.
Well, you could try that. Try leaning your body into the turn a little bit more than the bike to offset it. To try, kind of drag a knee a little bit on the scooter.
Yeah, Guy Martin style. I like
Right.
it.
And that will give you a little bit more clearance under the bike. Other possibilities are to adjust the suspension, put a little bit more preload on the shocks to see if that will raise it up a little bit and give you a little bit more clearance.
You said it had a center stand though, also, right?
It does, yeah.
Well, just take it off and use the center stand.
Well, there's that possibility too.
I like center stands.
And what about this weight bias to the left, Bagel? What's that all about, darling?
I have advice, take off the sidecar, right, Carla?
Oh, never take off the sidecar.
Well, that one, that usually, from my experience, what that has to do with is the way the wires and cables are routed down the steering tube. It's a very tight space in there. And if those cables or wires get rerouted in a slightly different way, that can cause it to pull to one side or the other. That's actually a problem that I'm dealing with my Cannonball bike. And it causes the front tire to wear out faster on one side than the other.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it doesn't really affect anything else other than that. Because like when you're riding it, you're just, keeping the bike straight and you don't even really notice that you're counteracting, this very slight pull. But that is something that I want to dig into the front end of my mind and try to straighten out.
I have a poignant question for you, Bagel.
Yes.
Who is that in black and white relief behind the blue and white scooter? Is that Pat Benatar?
That is indeed Pat Benatar.
Well, cool, blimey!
Yes, that is a painting on foam board that came from the Tower Records in San Francisco many years ago. Huh. And I'm planning on framing that and putting that up in my house pretty soon.
I had such a crush on her.
She's amazing.
So hopefully we answered that. But I also want to say that he may have answered our question for our previous emailer about the great bike, Buell. If you're a Harley rider and you want someone to give you...
I think he needs to step outside the box.
Okay.
And I think he needs to get away from the V-twin just for the change.
Okay.
Just for the change. Because he's got this big touring V-twin, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Get something completely different. Get a four-cylinder bike.
I mean, what about a used Bonneville?
I like Bonneville.
But it's not going to give you that same thrill. He wants some speed.
If you get an inline 4 race bike kind of thing, but not a race bike version, but inline 4, it's intoxicating. When you get the RPMs up to, whatever, like on the FC1, it's up 8, 9, 10 grand. It's just, you start levitating. It's otherworldly. I mean, the inline 4s, it's intoxicating.
It's great, isn't it? It's like you're going down a tunnel, because everything at the side of you starts moving really quick.
And it's so easy. We've talked about this, but it's like, I commute every day over Highway 17 on an FC1, and it's nice now because it's lighter traffic. So, I can do 70, 80, no problem. And it's not dangerous. It's very controlled power. But it's intoxicating. But like, what do we call it? Squirt and go? What were we saying?
Squirt.
What?
The squirt. I call it the squirt and go technique. And you need a bike with a certain amount of power to do it. And the way you do squirt and go is, if you're in multi-lane traffic, you can look 4 or 5 cars ahead and you can see your gap, and you go down a gear and give it a big handful, and you're there.
Oh,
and then you go like that.
Yeah, it's easy as kiss my hand.
But you need at least 120 horsepower to do it. The RF's great at squirt and go. Yeah. Your FC1's great at
I've heard that referred to as the Pierre.
Yes.
I think Pierre flies a helicopter.
I think
that's gross.
Pierre he was very misunderstood. I think he was auditioning for the Italian Spider-Man movie.
That's amore.
All right, Jim.
Poor
you got
Pierre.
one there?
Oui. Okay. Last.
Oui.
Little bit peek them
Great
out.
minds.
A lot of peek come out.
Okay, this is from Don. Hey, Don.
Don.
No, I take it back. It's Mike D from SoCal.
Oh,
Mike D.
Ah.
He's for dangerous. You can come and get some of this. Last episode, the question was raised: what to do with a motorcycle without an engine,
Yes.
aka parts
Ah.
biking?
Yes, especially
Um,
Jim's bike.
May I suggest safely dumping it into the ocean? Let me just check again. You are from California, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And hey, I know about starting a Moto Misfits artificial reef.
Hey.
Hey,
No.
off the shore of Santa Cruz, Mike D. SoCal. Right on. Well, you're not the first person to think of it. My kids, when they were like 12, them and their friends built a wooden ramp off the toilet bowl ledge over at the lighthouse. So this is a cliff basically that drops off into the ocean in front of the lighthouse. They call it the toilet bowl. So they started doing that with bicycles and skateboards. Yeah.
But you know, I was thinking we could incorporate some evil Knievelry with this
Oh,
because
fire.
we're very, very blessed here in this part of the neck of the woods. We've got this thing called the SS Palo Alto. And the Palo
Yes.
Alto was, I think, built at the beginning of the 20th century as a concrete ship.
And a concrete ship it is.
And it is a concrete ship.
Cement ship, we like to call
It's
it.
the
Here.
cement ship.
Right.
And it was moored just up the road from here back in the 30s, I think, with a view to being a nightclub. And it's been pounded by the ocean. And it's barely a ship anymore.
Pacific said no.
Yeah,
much
Pacific
left.
said, no, you can't park that
Sea
here.
lion rookery.
And you could like go bombing down the pier and just like launch into the Palo Alto. It'd be brilliant.
It would be.
Rebar madness, I tell you.
God.
Although,
It's not a bad suggestion. Start our own reef.
so I do like the reef idea. I think we'll just build on it. It'll have to.
It's reefy.
I mean, we'll have to get it properly sorted before we do dump
yeah,
it into our
yeah.
lovely
I like that.
Monterey Bay sanctuary. But
Sanctuary.
Emma!
Money penny.
You got an email there to read.
I do indeed. And,
and,
it's
and just so you know, she always reads them in British accents.
I do. And actually, this is from Chris Budd or Buddy Chris, who is in England. He's in Gore Blimey.
Oh, that just
like-
worked out
Chris.
perfect,
Well,
didn't it?
didn't
Oh,
it?
surely good.
Jolly.
Say,
Oh, I've got a joke for you, Bagel,
Oh,
and
no.
you're the only one who will get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I have a slice of German Christmas cake for you here. Oh, do you? Did you buy it locally? No, it's stolen.
Ah.
I know that.
Thank
Nein,
you.
Das ist stolen.
That is stolen.
Try the veal. Tip your waiters.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
So from Chris, hi all. During the past
Hello.
COVID lockdown, the wolves were closing in and I couldn't ride. So to prevent total madness, I bought an old Honda Trials bike to restore.
Oh,
good.
fun.
Good.
Brilliant.
Trials is huge in Europe
Um,
too.
I stumbled across your podcast on Spotify. Very nice. And was hooked. So much fun and just great motorcycle banter. Well, that's us, isn't it? Eh? I enjoyed it so much as I fettled. I bought 2 more Trials bikes to restart and started listening from episode 1. Oh, you poor man. I'm up to 2015 now and working hard to get up to date. It's about 2015 that I showed up, wasn't it?
It seems so long ago.
Yeah, it does, doesn't
I
it?
thought it was during the Boer War.
Was
So-
she carrying a BSA? That was the question.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly. So Ducatis, in brackets, don't judge me harshly. Well, you know I will, Chris. And dirt bikes have played a huge part in my life. And I've been riding for 50 years now. So I can relate to all your stories. I'm in the UK. Do you know what the UK stands for? That's the United Kingdom.
Of Mutual of Omaha.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Emperor Carl Perkins.
And so it rains all the time. I have an English joke for you. How do you know when it's summer in England?
When my wellies are wet.
No, when the rain gets a little warmer. Ha, ha, ha,
I was
Yeah.
close.
So it rains all the time and we don't have the space you guys do. So I am insanely jealous. Stay safe, shiny side up. Cheers. Chris, what a lovely email. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers, darling. And
Beautiful riding in
good
the
luck
UK.
with the little Honda Trials bike.
What they do have though is Wales, a beautiful.
Oh, look,
country. I would
you're-
love to ride through Wales.
No, Wales is brilliant. I told you my brother lives in Wales. Yeah, he's always very fond of telling me that his cottage is actually older than America by 50 years.
Probably much colder too.
Well, it's the funniest thing. The walls on it are so thick. When you look at you're like looking down a tunnel to look out of the window because it's
Is that like peat? Like the stacked peat?
it's wattle and daub. No, it was no, it's actually a stone cottage,
Yeah.
but of course, it's so inhospitable in the wintertime. And he's like a hermit. So from like October onwards, he'll stockpile food. So if it snows and he gets stuck in his cottage for a month, it doesn't bother him and he just gets very odd. And I'll call him up on the telephone and think, fucking hell, you're getting very strange, Dave. You need human company again. But they made these really robust houses and the walls had to be so thick. And when he first got it, it had a thatched roof on it, which is like made of straw. And it deteriorated somewhat. There's things living in it, not good things. So we had to have the roof taken off, and he had a slate
Was
roof.
it hobbits? Did hobbits get in the
Yeah, I
roof?
think so. When trolls
Trolls and
given
such.
up living under bridges and now lived in his thatched roof. So he had a slate roof put on it, which apparently is very good.
You know who else
Sounds
just bought
beautiful.
an 18th century cottage in Wales?
Oh my!
Haley Bell!
Bodget Bell.
The Bodget
Bell.
Oh, yes.
Cottage bodging, like
She
cabin
is
stabbing, but
crazy.
cottage bodging.
Yes.
Yeah. But you should be seeing, she's going to document it and it should be coming out in theaters next year. It's
She's
called
awesome.
Money Pit 2, the
Yes.
sequel. Yes.
The money pound.
I think we have time for one more. John, do you have one there to read?
I do.
What you got?
This is from John Caps.
Hey, John Caps.
Hello, Misfits.
Hello, Johnny.
I am looking for my first motorcycle.
Would you rebel?
Oh, that was your first mistake, darling,
I am-
asking us.
Particularly interested in dual sport motorcycles, maybe a Honda CRF
Yes.
300L
That's good,
Rally,
mate. Yes.
Kawasaki DRZ 400, or KLX 300. Here's my rationale. I want a dual sport so I can have off-road capable bike.
Yes.
I see my first bike as just that, a first bike. So here,
Yes.
after a few years learning on the dual sport, I would keep it, but get a standard street specific motorcycle as a
Yes.
second bike. I have a max budget of 7,000 MSRP, and I'm average size 5'11", 32 inseam, 190 pounds. I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Yes.
I don't see myself doing anything hardcore on the
Would
bike.
you describe yourself as a handsome man, Johnny?
I'm very handsome.
Okay, very good.
I see. Just want to check out some dirt roads and back areas. So I'm worried about getting a smaller bike. Would limit where I could go or make it harder for me to keep up with traffic. Most of the secondary highways around me have posted speed limit of 65 or lower.
Yeah.
I also live near the interstate. I think I would probably have to avoid one altogether. Would the bikes I mentioned above work, or should I consider something else? Any advice is much appreciated.
Busa.
Yes, stretch Hayabusa. With purple neon
absolutely.
lights.
I think that the CRF 300, I mean, I haven't ridden the 300 yet, but it's got to have a little bit more juice than the 250, which is a perfectly appropriate good bike, but more so, that's the one bike that neither Jim or I could kill.
And listen, let me tell you something right now. We get so tied up in, you want to go on the freeway, you need a big bike, you need this, you need this, you need this. When I was young,
The Boer Wars.
the Bow Wars. No, I had a 250 Kawasaki, a 3-cylinder, little 2-stroke, rode that thing everywhere. Motorways, freeways, here, there, length, breadth, width of the country. Any of those bikes he mentioned are perfectly capable of doing 65, 70 all day long, especially the CRF. You know that because it's quite a big rangy thing.
I'll speak, it's funny. I had the 250L Rally, right? And a couple of things I liked about that. So I'm 6'1", 205.
Yes.
Right. So that, to give you perspective there, I rode that thing all over the place. It would do 75 miles an hour with Moto Z knobbies at 18 pounds all day long. So I could do 75 miles an hour on that 250 easily. And I'm, on a small.
And that was stock gearing, right?
Yeah, stock gearing.
So if you
well, I
change the
actually
gearing,
dropped the counter
there you go.
shot a little bit, but even then, so plenty there. But
Yeah.
here's the thing I didn't think about when I got it was that little fairing, the little windshield on it makes a world of difference. So just that little bit of wind protection.
Right.
If you are going to be doing any freeway riding, boy, is it a lifesaver.
Well, and I
But
was going
plenty
to
of power.
say,
I'd say plenty
Jim,
of power for freeway.
yours your CRF 250 Rally is for sale,
It is.
and it's in his range.
Yes.
Well,
He's in
you just-
Virginia.
There's also a very cool KTM Supermoto for sale.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
but he could get out the door with a 300L
Yeah.
I would-
for less than 7K.
I like
exactly.
the 300L Rally.
For 7K, he needs to walk down to his Honda
That's
dealer,
right.
Yeah.
just plonk the money down, and walk out with a brand new bike.
Or the Kawasaki, the KLR 302.
KLX, but
KLX, yeah.
KLX.
KLX.
I rode that bike. It was great. And
Yeah.
the one difference I've seen just in looking at both of those is that the Kawasaki is a little peppier and has it has better suspension out the gate.
but doesn't have wind protection if you're actually going to get on,
Right.
on the road at higher speeds.
No, I think the Rally. I think the Rally.
It's a great choice.
The Rally is the choice for Johnny.
Good resale too.
Yes.
I just don't know how easy it is to find the new 300s. Those are new.
Finding any motorcycle.
So I would say
you gotta
even
get
the
the 2022.
open yourself to the 250s, because what you will get is somebody like Jim who has put on all the accessories, which, as we know, you don't necessarily get to recoup your money when you're selling it used. But when you get one that has all guards and bags and windshields and stuff like that, rather than buying new, you're saving yourself a
At least
few
$500. I mean,
well,
Yeah.
a few grand if you're going to put all these accessories on.
Absolutely.
So I would open yourself up to the 250s, which really widens the range of bikes available.
And mine was, like I said, fine
And
freeway.
as
bike.
a first bike, it still is an excellent bike.
So, do you think in Virginia they have Johns, or is it Johnny?
Is it a Johnny Hopper? What
Well,
do they call
no. I mean, because Virginia, it's all about smoking. So,
Oh,
It's
I
for
was,
lovers too, Virginia.
I
light me,
I
Johnny.
was thinking about Hollister. What are you rebelling against now, Johnny?
Yeah,
what are you rebelling
got,
against, Johnny?
Johnny.
What you got?
Yeah, Johnny on his Rally 350.
Are you
Yeah,
done?
Like me, Johnny.
I have some quick announcements to make.
Oh, do you really?
Oh,
I do.
Well, don't bore me. Down.
If you have not yet got your tickets, the Black Hills Moto Film Festival is happening right now.
Do it.
The free weekend has ended, but for $10, you can still get a 2-week pass
Bunch of
to
movies.
see all the movies. We got like 13 hours of movies.
We're
It's
almost back on
kind
lockdown,
of
so come on, this is worth
crazy.
it.
Really good films. So go to revsisters.com. And another thing, I'm still going ahead with my Pakistan trip. And just for people who may be wondering, in lieu of all the excitement happening in Afghanistan, I would not be going, nor would Moyne be inviting anyone over if we were not perfectly safe. And just a reminder, it's in a completely different country than what is happening in Afghanistan. Pakistan, even though they're on the border, it's, as I like to say, if the Russians invaded Canada, would you still go to Yellowstone Park?
I do.
I think my response, I'd probably stay home.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Get some
Yeah, you're right.
champagne
If the
and
Russians
hang
invaded
out.
Canada, we'd all be like, what the fuck is happening? I know.
yeah.
But I'm good. And Bagel, I mean, you know, as well as I do, that we don't have the dangers there that people think that we do. And if there was a hint of danger, Moyne and everyone else would not, the government, the local police would not allow us to be there and would send troops to protect us.
You know, the most dangerous thing about going on a trip like that is your appalling riding technique.
Yes. I can confirm.
There you go.
And dietary habits.
Well, yes.
Gas comes in there too.
So I think that wraps it up. Thank you, Carla, for joining us.
Oh,
Rock
it's been
star.
much
Carla,
fun.
you're awesome.
You
Oh my
made it through the
gosh.
shit show. I love
Thanks,
when
Carla.
you come by and you just sit and just kind of watch the shit show happen.
There's a lot to watch.
Yeah, but she was up in the shit show. This
You were-
time.
A little
she was
bit. Well,
racing.
you gave me little bikes. Yeah.
Small bikes.
Don't
big
give
fun.
me toys.
Oh yeah, we do have fun.
Give her toys. Give her-
Mike was out there telling his stories and yeah, the reason we said that it was like the Benetton ad because we had like a Harley chopper, we had a Zero, we had a dirt bike, we had we had like everything represented, a mini bike, a
KTM
scooter,
two-stroke
KTM two-stroke, like
with a kickstand.
with a kickstand, every possible version of any bike was represented out there today. And those are the moments that I sit there and I'm really proud of our Misfits community and that we love all things two-wheeled, including scooters, right, Bagel?
Right.
And dogs.
and dogs. And so, yeah, I think, Carla, that you are witnessing that here, and I think you enjoy that too. So come on down anytime. You are welcome.
Thank you, Will. I
Yeah.
will. I definitely recommend it as a tourist attraction for sure. I mean, forget Alice's restaurant.
Just come on down to the
Yeah.
Misfits Garage.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's ready to wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for listening, especially thank you to our Patreon subscribers. We love you so much. And also to Fix My Hog for being a sponsor. I really do appreciate what they do and how they're providing resources to Harley riders to guide them through fixing their bikes themselves and becoming wrenchers. I think there's not enough of them. So good on you for that. And then, thank you, Carla, for coming. I think we're ready to get out of here. Go to motorcyclesandmisfits.com. Find the links to everything. And you'll also find our Zazzle store, Recycle Santa Cruz.
Where you can buy a t-shirt with a picture of me in bed with a Yamaha.
Yes,
on
I
it.
showed Carla that picture.
Wow, that is a doozy. I love that.
Thank you, darling. You can get it on a mug as well, you know.
Oh,
So
really?
every time you have your morning coffee, you can see me.
You can also get a
Love it.
naked gym mug. And when
having done a
Wait, there's a naked gym mug? I
There
haven't
is.
seen that.
Oh,
and when you
yes.
fill it up with hot water.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
when he fill it up, he does a Pierre.
Yeah, yes.
Oh.
You have to change the parental controls on the.
Just remember, squirt and go. Everyone, thank you. This is Liza.
Stumpy John.
Emma Darling.
Carla King.
Naked Jim, son.
Bagel.
And we're out of here.
Cool.
Hey.
Cool.
Bye.
All right.